A study conducted by the African Development Bank found that implementing Pan-African initiatives could boost the continent's GDP by up to 33%, which would translate in an additional $1.1 trillion in income output by 2025. The study identified several key areas where Pan-African initiatives could have the most significant impact, including infrastructure development, trade integration, and investment in human capital.
What we're really doing is we're leaving old people to work the agricultural space and to look after children while we urbanize and go to cities. And that's not a way to develop your agricultural sector, because the agricultural sector is actually an incredibly powerful economic driver on the African continent. So we need to mechanize, we need to make our agricultural sector take the position that it deserves in our respective economies, because it's also the solution. So maybe let's stay on the Namibian example, because we've done exceptionally well in gender equality from a legal perspective. Our constitution is perfect, our policies are very good, but there's still some places where we can do better. And I think that is also the problem in the rest of the continent. You can have the best legal instruments, you can have the best constitution, you can be the best on paper, but we must change the mindsets.
According to the United Nations Economic Commission for Africa, Pan-African initiatives like the African Free Trade Area, which came into effect in January 2021, is expected to boost intra-African trade by 33%, and this would increase Africa's GDP by $450 billion by 2035. The African Free Trade Area is the key example of Pan-African Free Trade Initiative, as it seeks to create a single market for goods and services, facilitate the free movement of people and capital, while harmonizing trade regulations across the continent.
In the developing economy, up to 50–60% of the economy is in the hands of the SMEs, and yet they struggle to access financing. So we're looking at how to improve the financing of the SMEs to be able to play a stronger role in the economies and really to spur the indigenous businesses.
Data from the African Union shows that the continent's youth population is expected to double to 830 by 2050, and this sustainable growth in human capital would be used as an incentive to spur economic growth, as it is very crucial for achieving sustainable development in Africa. Also, Pan-African initiatives such as African Youth Charter and the African Union Development Agencies are working to ensure that the young people have access to education, training, and employment activities that will enable them to contribute to the continent's economic growth.
Has actually been encouraged a little bit more by the introduction of the Africa Continental Free Trade Area. Yes, there's still incidences where the tariffs are still very high. And I think that has to do more with some tight fiscal spaces that governments do have.
Noteworthy is that the idea of Pan-African Free Trade Area has the potential to transform African economies and cause sustainable development. Such economic cohesions would enhance infrastructure development, provide a wider trade market, and improve on people's livelihoods across the continent.